can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
Hello, that's Matt behind the camera. I'm Ben, that makes this Stuff They Don't Want You to Know. This is a quick update. As you know, last week we released an episode called John F. Kennedy Revisited. This examines some new information by an author named Seymour Morris about his conclusions regarding the Kennedy assassination. And we got a lot of feedback about this, and some of our listeners said, hey guys, why are you covering the Kennedy assassination without talking about the Federal Reserve? And that's one of the biggest theories regarding the Kennedy assassination. So we wanted to take our time with you this week to, instead of putting up a new blog post or talking about a book we like, to republish our earlier episode on Executive Order 11110, issued on June 4th, 1963. This is the order that Kennedy issued regarding silver certificates. And well, I don't want to ruin the surprise if you haven't seen the episode yet, but for everybody wanting to know the Federal Reserve angle on the Kennedy assassination, please check out the video.
Here are the facts. Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy are two of the most popular presidents in U.S. history. They were also both assassinated. Lincoln was shot in Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. on April 14, 1865, by an actor named John Wilkes Booth. On November 22, 1963, Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. While each of these tragic events altered the course of the nation, political assassinations are not an uncommon occurrence throughout the world. These deaths may be the inevitable result of a power shift, a coup d'etat, or scapegoating. But to some conspiracy theorists, the deaths of Lincoln and Kennedy aren't just disturbing, they are related. Here's where it gets crazy. Some conspiracy theorists believe that financial interests arranged for the assassination of these presidents. In Kennedy's case, they argue that he was murdered because of Executive Order 11110 from June 4, 1963, which authorized the U.S. Treasury to issue silver certificates and to coin standard silver dollars. To these conspiracists, the central issue here is that Kennedy was taking the power of creating cash from the Federal Reserve, which charges interest to the government when it issues currency. In Lincoln's case, David W. Balsinger and Charles E. Sellier Jr. argue that he was shot, at least partially, because of disagreements with international banking interest over the financing of the Civil War. Lincoln, allegedly rejecting the high interest rates set by the Bank of England and other financiers, worked with Congress to authorize the printing of greenbacks to pay for the war effort. Ultimately, according to these conspiracies, two U.S. presidents were killed for financial reasons as much as ideological differences. But could this actually be true? It is true that private financial entities have ousted world leaders in the past. In 1893, a group of businessmen and property owners banded together to create the Committee for Safety and overthrow the Hawaiian monarchy, eventually annexing the nation into the United States. Further examples may be seen in Guatemala and Honduras, where the United Fruit Company wielded deadly power with political and occasionally military support from the U.S. These countries were not annexed politically, but United Fruit used its influence to determine the country's leaders. In Economic Hitman, John Perkins claims that he was hired by the firm known as Chastity Main to trap poor countries in debt, using underhanded methods to strong-arm these nations into privatizing resources and following the commands of the developed world. Yet undue corruption is not the same thing as assassination, and skeptics are also quick to point out several inconsistencies in these theories. In both cases, numerous factions wanted the president out of the picture. There is no solid proof connecting the issuance of greenbacks or Kennedy dollars to their assassinations. While it is true that questions remain regarding both murders, these events have become part of American folklore, and with time, increasingly exaggerated connections and coincidences are bound to be touted as fact. Is there a grain of truth somewhere in the theory? Given that 4 of the 44 U.S. presidents have been assassinated, the fatality rate seems surprisingly high. Yet political figures across the planet are inherently in dangerous positions, especially in times of domestic instability or financial upheaval. Assassinations, coup d'etat, and forced depositions are all too common in the turbulent world of international politics. And it's no secret that in the past, large private organizations have used their economic clout to change the state of a country's government. But does this still happen today? Skeptics maintain that the Kennedy and Lincoln assassinations, like those of most world leaders, were not orchestrated by any international banking cartel. The sheer level of organization and secrecy required would make the task impossible. But to conspiracy theorists, there's only one important question: who's next?